Kew Gardens, London.
I work at Kew in one of the departments that has a collection of 6 million of specimens. Together, they work like if it were a library, where instead of a book, we have dry plants from the tropics in Malaysia, can be from the desert in Arizona, or like this one, which I got recently from Bolivia.
For over 200 years, scientists here have been collecting and studying plants. The challenge is to find, name and preserve species before they become extinct. Plant habitats are being destroyed all around the world, especially the rainforests. This is the closest Britain gets to a rainforest. Scientists at Kew have built a living laboratory to study how many different plant species come together to create such a special environment.
There are many types of rainforest. Some of them have very tall trees, up to 70 meters tall. This one is a particular tree which is a medium size, can reach about 40 meters height in normal conditions. This is a special one because 11 years ago I brought it from Mexico in a form of a little tiny seed. Now we are about 25 meters above the ground that we were before, and we have reached one of the layers of the canopy in the rainforest. Here is really where the action for the plant begins, where the photosynthesis will take place, where the food for itself is going to be produced, and in addition released oxygen, which is important for all the living organisms in the earth.
Photosynthesis is something no animal can do. Carbon dioxide from the air seeps into the leaves through pores, called stomata. It reaches tiny granules, chloroplasts, that contain a green chemical, chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is the key to photosynthesis. It uses energy from sunlight to bond the carbon dioxide to the hydrogen in water brought up from the roots. The result is carbohydrates, sugars and starches that the plant can use to grow. But photosynthesis also produces oxygen. Every day, each person on the planet needs to absorb several hundred balloon volumes of pure oxygen from the air. And we each produce several hundred balloon volumes of carbon dioxide. So the Earth's atmosphere is in a constant balance. Plants recycle our carbon dioxide, and we recycle their waste oxygen. Plants, humans, and animals across the planet need each other. Dave Shaw is a biologist. For the last 5 years, he's been studying the rainforest of eastern Ecuador with the help of his friend, Pepe Tapia.
Dave Shaw and me, we became friends when he was in my shop, and we were talking about some big problems that we have, and he didn't believe me. So he said, next year I will be back and you can take me and I can see with my own eyes. This Ecuadorian rainforest is really, really special, and because this is the paradise. This is really beautiful.
Photosynthesis supports every kind of life in the rainforest. A huge range of insects and animals depend directly or indirectly on plants for food. The range of species here is greater than anywhere else on Earth. So many species that some haven't even been named yet. The problem is, the trees on which they depend are being cut down.
The forest floor here is covered in dead leaves and branches, all things that fall from the tops of the trees, but you can see how they all rot and break down. And it's the goodness from this that really feeds the rainforest. The soil itself isn't very good. It's the food, the goodness, the nutrients in this that the trees need to survive, which is why when they cut the trees down, everything else dies because there's no food left for them. You can see on the trunk that some scientists have actually marked the tree here. Because this is a reserve, they're trying to identify all the different plants and animals and keep a record of them. Otherwise, it's difficult to protect things if you don't know their names and how many there are. Pepe, what's it called? It's good. Rainforest sweet, like liquid.
This is the problem. An oil pipeline has just been laid through the rainforest. At the moment, it's just a pipeline. But oil companies also plan to build roads and create traffic. That could destroy the homeland of native people like the Waorani tribe.
The situation in this Waorani people is hard for them because they live deep in the forest. They are the most beautiful tribe. Still now, they live like 100 years ago. These people, they are really peaceful. They are always smiling. They are always laughing. They are free. For Waorani, this is really important because this is their house. And if they need something to eat, they just go on the forest and they just eat. So if somebody goes and destroys, chop down trees, they won't get food anymore.
The Waorani are not alone. Around the world, native people want to keep their traditional way of life. But they also need cash to buy things like medicines. It's a dilemma.
Here in the country, Ecuador, we need money from Europe, America. Multinationals companies, they come into the rainforest and they are allowed to come and to get oil, to get timber. I think this is bad because the rainforest is getting destroyed really, really fast.
These are prints of a lemur that's going to be made extinct if the mine goes ahead. Thanks, we'll get the taxi now. Bye.
Friends of the Earth campaigns to preserve the world's rainforests.
RTZ, the world's biggest mining company, is planning to mine a rainforest in Africa, and we're going along to the annual general business meeting to try and persuade them not to go ahead with this project.
This protest is being held in London. It's about a country on the other side of the world. Even so, Friends of the Earth argues that mining in the rainforest will be bad for the whole planet.
Many countries desperately want to develop their own natural resources and look for the help of a responsible international group like us to help us. And we have a whole queue of them coming to us. And why do they do that? It's because they too want the benefits of economic development. They want the taxation and royalty income we can bring to them when they're often very hard-pressed to make basic social provision. They want the infrastructure, they want the skills, they want the technology, they want the expertise that we can bring. And I must say, I think it's very wrong of those in the West who want to dwell in some green utopian fantasy that we will have a complex, elaborate society, but other people are to be denied this. I think that's a wrong attitude.
The world's rainforests are crucial to the future of our planet. They supply the very oxygen that we breathe and are homes to thousands of species of plants and animals found nowhere else, and that could be of great benefit to us. For example, extracts from plants found in rainforests supply the cure to many terrible diseases such as leukemia.
People forget that the product of mining is basic to our whole way of life, not just in the West, not just for the cars, the planes, the refrigerators, but in the developing world, for the copper piping that means clean water, for the woks and saucepans that people cook in, for the bicycles that people move around in. So it's not that you've got mining. Of course we've got to have mining. The only issue is whether it's responsible mining. We too want to see that areas of great natural beauty and are protected. But if the government gives permission for a well-managed mine to go ahead, it's actually far less destructive than logging, which can occupy an enormous area, cattle ranching, which can lead to ecological devastation. So I don't feel any reason to be defensive about the impact of a well-managed mine, no greater than that of an industrial estate on the edge of an English town.
5 a.m. At one of Britain's biggest tomato nurseries, it's time for breakfast. Over the next hour, these plants will suck up most of the 50,000 litres of water they will need for photosynthesis today. It's pumped to their roots. This is photosynthesis running at full speed. In nature, the rate of photosynthesis is always limited by a shortage of light, water or carbon dioxide, or because the plants are at the wrong temperature. But here, everything's controlled to boost plant growth. Since they started, they've managed to push the plants to yield 8 times the crop they would grow in a field. Pat Smith is the production supervisor. She leads a team of 8 full-time tomato pickers.
Well, basically, we give them everything that they need to grow. All the light that they want from the high greenhouses, heat from pipes on the ground, and carbon dioxide from the tubes, which shoots out at little pinpricks at the side, and all they've got to do is grow.
The plants have everything, except soil. This is a hydroponic nursery, and the roots grow directly in running water. Here is living proof that plants can grow out of thin air. Last year, these plants used photosynthesis to turn carbon dioxide and water into 800 tons of tomatoes. The roots draw in water through a thin membrane layer. It's sucked up in tubes called xylem, which are made from cylindrical cells stacked end to end. When the water reaches the leaves, it's used for more than photosynthesis. Another process, transpiration, keeps the plants cool. The cooling happens through evaporation. Liquid water turning into vapor takes heat away as it passes out through the stomata. The greenhouses are controlled by a computer system. On hot, sunny days, the windows open automatically. Dark winter evenings can be brightened up for extra growing time with special lighting. But it's not all high-tech. In among the plants are mini beehives. The bees pollinate the tomato flowers. Other helpful insects keep down pests that could destroy the crop, so there's no need to use insecticide. Hydroponic nurseries need only a small quantity of chemicals.
Because the plants aren't grown in soil, they still need all trace elements and the acid which they would get out of the soil. So these are the feed tanks. Those have got the trace elements in. And when it's running low, the probe in the tank tells the computer and the pump starts working and it comes down the line along here, and when it reaches the necessary level, it stops pumping.
They've built as much recycling into the nursery as they can. Even the waste gas from the heating system is used to provide carbon dioxide for the growing process. It all uses a lot of energy, but growing tomatoes like this guarantees consumers a quality product all year round. From space, it's clear just how much the world's living systems are interlinked. And human spaceflight has shown how difficult it is for us to survive away from Earth. Until now, astronauts have had to take all their oxygen with them. But at NASA's Johnson Space Center, they're testing a new idea that could make long space journeys possible. A British scientist volunteered to be locked for 2 weeks in an airtight chamber.
I'm in an airlock which is attached to a chamber full of wheat, which is growing using artificial lighting in hydroponic solutions. They're providing my oxygen and they're taking up my carbon dioxide. Both in the morning when I'm working normally, when I'm exercising in the afternoon, and when I'm asleep, the plants take up that carbon dioxide and produce oxygen for me through photosynthesis. When I walk into the plant growth chamber, it's like a breath of fresh air, really, apart from the fact that it's an increase in volume. It also makes you feel a little bit like you're outside. It smells very different. It's like walking into a greenhouse almost.
Nigel was kept alive by 22,000 wheat seedlings. They were grown in an area of 10 square meters, using the same technology that tomato nurseries use on Earth.
We can get to a full harvest in about 90 days, in other words, from grain to seed. The reason I'm wearing glasses is because we've got high-pressure sodium lamps in here, which put out the equivalent of about 1 sun, so it's pretty bright. The other thing is I'm wearing hearing protection in my right ear and the comm on my left because we've got 2 large blowers sitting right down here, which put out quite a lot of noise. Of course, the door going into the airlock is padded pretty heavily, so I don't hear that noise in the airlock itself.
The experiment worked. Nigel was the first person to experience what life on a plant-powered space mission could be like.
Life has been very pleasant here. It's really a home away from home. The only thing I can't do is walk out the door. The plants have performed wonderfully so far. They react very quickly to me being here and to changes in my metabolic output. For example, if I sit on the bicycle and start exercising for 30 minutes, and I tend to put out a lot more carbon dioxide, the plants react very, very rapidly to that. So it's almost as if they know I'm here.
Technology has brought us a long way. But until a machine can reproduce photosynthesis, we will depend on plants to keep the Earth alive.